All right, Antron, it's always good to see you. You're always full of life and have so much to talk about, but you're coming off a big win in Minnesota, so congratulations. You know, I like to talk to winners.
Yeah, Jamie, I love when you do. I love when you do. So I knew I was coming to talk to you, and I knew I had to step the game up.
Oh, yeah. So you said, all right, we're going to victory. We're going to take that Wally, go back and do this interview in Indianapolis, right?
Absolutely. And the coolest part was that Brainerd has always been one of my favorite places, BIR. And the coolest part, it's a Lucas Oil race. And when you want to show out and show up and show off, you got to do it at one of like our family tracks. And Lucas has always been a great family for us at ABM. And to win there, it was just unbelievable because you got to remember, when you go to BRR, they got this zoo out there. And them people it's a little different. And they're crazy and they're buck wild and they bring so much energy to our sport of NHRA drag racing.
And when you guys come here for the U.S. Nationals in Indy, coming in as a winner, I mean, what does that do for you and the momentum if you believe in that?
Oh, I do. Because the thing about it is, in every professional sport, showing up with the right attitude and showing up with confidence and knowing that you're coming off a win and knowing that your team is gelling and we're actually peaking at the right time. And this is what we did last year. Like, we're trying to replicate that formula, but take it one step farther because we fell short last year and finished number 2 in the points. And we had one deciding moment in Vegas last year that we let slip away from us. And if we would have had that, it could be a different number on our car with that number 1 plate. So with this year going in and coming off a win at Brainerd and knowing that we won here at the U.S. Nationals last year also, and we have all those records and all those notes, we just want to come in and replicate that. But we want to do it in a little bit better fashion. You know what I mean? Last year, the competition was tough, but this year, it's ridiculous out there. It is completely ridiculous where you can line up with somebody first round, that's a final round. And at BRR, we did that. We raced present, past champions every round of eliminations to get that win. And it's going to be no different at the U.S. Nationals because everybody's going to show up and show out when they come to this race.
So tell me about this race and the importance. Obviously, it's the end of the regular season. You want to win so you can move on to that playoff hunt. How big is this weekend?
Well, they always call this race the Big Go. And I'm gonna paint the picture for you so all the people out there watching and listening can understand what we mean. When you come to the U.S. Nationals, if you have a team that might not have a chance to win a championship, if you have a team that wants to run for a championship, you have people that only might go to 4 or 5 races a year. They're going to come to Indy, and they're going to race Indy like it's a Super Bowl. They're going to come in with all their stuff tightened up, sharpened up. Everybody's going to be dressed to impress, and they're going to bring out nothing but the best parts and pieces. Indy is a race that people could run like they're a championship contender car for one race, and they save everything they got for this race. Everybody who's of who, they fly in from California, from Canada, from the UK, from Australia. They're flying from all across the globe to come to this track, the U.S. Nationals, to show up. And they're like, you know what? If we're not going to win a championship this year, we're going to damn for sure try to win Indy. And that's what they do. And when you come out, first of all, it's a win in itself just to qualify for the race because it's going to be over 24 cars trying to qualify for a 16-car field. And then once you make the show, you're like, well, who we got first round? Oh, that ain't no gimme. And you're like, you got to get past it first. And once you get past that, that's when you start going, all right, how do we get through second round? And then if you look back and you have that hope and your dreams come to reality because you make it to that final, the intensity level is through the roof because the stands are jam-packed. Everybody's on the starting line. They're in your pit area looking at you, and you're just looking at, we can win Indy. And you got to try to block all that noise and all that static out your mind because you know how big it is to win this race. And when you get to that starting line, only thing you have on your mind is that you got to breathe, let it in, let it out, and get that focus where you can hear that pin drop amongst all the noise to hit the tree to turn that wind light on. If you're lucky enough to turn that wind light on and we get to the other end, it's one of those dreams that you never thought that could be possible, period.
I'm pumped. That's amazing. And you know, as you're talking about that and blocking it all out, there's so much noise here, so much pressure. three-time champion. You've been doing this a long time. How does experience help you in those moments to clarify and focus on the job?
You know the hardest part that I guess I never expressed before? You think that your experience level by how many times you do it, you know what it takes to make it happen. But yet when you come in a sport with more time of what we do, everything has to be a reactive. It's got to be no thinking involved. And the longer you do it, the harder it is to do that. Because now, owning a team, running a team, showing up here, doing the sponsor obligations, and ripping and roaring, because people don't realize, like, when you come to an NHRA drag race, a drag racer is not like your normal professional athlete, where they have the crowd, they part the crowd like you part the sea, and you can just walk into your pit area. No, you walk amongst the crowd. You walk over here. You have to go to a sponsor suite during your race. Like you're just not focused on what you're doing. And then you are expected to get into this race car that goes over 330 miles an hour in 3.6 seconds. And you mess up, you go home. There's no do-overs, there's no mulligans, there's no pit stops. Your pit stop is to get through that round so you go back into pit so your crew guys can get your car together for the next round in 40 minutes. Like completely rebuild your car, not change a tire, not make a wedge adjustment. I'm talking about tearing your car down to the nuts and bolts and put it all back together with the right parts and pieces, and not hope just to win the round, but first you gotta hope that it starts up and everything works right. It's a million ways to lose in Top Fuel drag racing and only a couple ways to win, and that's to be perfect. And that's what people don't understand, and to get your mindset wrapped around it. And then you as a driver, when the crew makes that perfect thing happen from the pit to the starting line, the next thing only thing the driver can do is screw it up. We can't make it better. Like, we could drive the car, but only thing we do is when we mess up, we just take ET away from it. You know what I mean? So in hindsight, and if you don't leave on time, all the work they just did that we prepared for, not just for that lap, for the 2 weeks before we even got to the big go here at the U.S. Nationals.
And you mentioned it. It comes down to the driver. Everything can be perfect, but it's up to you to screw it up, or it's up to you to go the distance and get the win. And when you walked in here, I noticed how fit you are. You like him fighting weight right now.
Yes.
What do you do to stay confident, fit, mentally, physically, all there?
Well, for sure, it's like I was always an athlete. Since I was in college, I ran track, played basketball, played football through high school, raced motocross since I was a little kid, dirt bikes, and always around drag racing at the sportsman level. But for me, my mental state all has to do with my physical shape and being is. And when I feel that I'm in tune with myself, where I can go through the hustle and bustle of the whole day at the racetrack, and then when I sit in that car, I don't waver. And if I can be, well, I always tell myself, if I can be a 99% driver, because you're never going to be 100%. You're always going to falter somewhere, right? But all my peers, I think I have that respect that when they know they're racing me, they got to bring their A+ level game. AB's not going to falter. AB is not going to mess up. AB is going to be sharp on the tree. He's going to drive the car, and I can make him stage first. He can stage last. What is his weakness? I show no weakness. And if I can bring that 99% level every time I sit in that race car, every time we go down a track, whatever the car produces on the racetrack, that is our chances to win. So if you put me in an 85% car, we're going to win 85% of the races, or 84.5%. Take the one out of it. And if I'm in that physical shape, whether I'm doing plyometrics, I'm doing interval training, I'm doing sprint work like I do to keep my reaction fast, and if I can control my breathing and get my mindset right where I flip my visor down, and when I come up and I'm poised, not too high, not too low, I'm ready to attack like a panther would on his prey.
You see the passion that you have, and I know you've been in racing a long time, but your passion goes back to two wheels. Tell me a little bit about the influence in your life that got you interested in motors to begin with.
You know, this is the funniest part. I never told people this story. And when I was a kid, I was 4 years old. I just literally learned how to ride my Schwinn Sting BMX bike with no training wheels. Because my brother, he raced BMX, avid BMX racer. And I'm like, all right. And they always knew I liked things with motors because I always polished and working on my dad's race car and stuff like that, him and my uncle's race cars. And I'll never forget, my grandpop got me a Z50 Honda, 3-speed automatic. They still make them. You know what I mean? No clutch. You get on the gas. And I never forget, I just knew how, 4 years old. They put me in the field. We had 15 acres of ground in South Jersey. And I went out there, and my grandpop literally told me, he goes, well, grandson, the faster you go, the easier it is to stay up. And all I remember was I turned that throttle wide open. I never even let off when I clicked the gears. And my grandma says, Albert, that boy's going to hit something out in that field. He goes, we got one tree. And I never forget, I didn't hit the tree, but I hit one of the roots and I fell off the motorcycle and I got back up. And my grandma said, look, Albert, that kid don't crash. He goes, well, he won't hit that root again. And I never forget that day on. Like, I had my helmet on and everything else. I got on that bike. And when I got on that motorcycle, I think what happened to me is that was the moment that I felt that I was free. That was me in a nutshell. Like, I had to go out, go fast. And when I was going fast, that was me flying like a bird does and gliding. And I was just always attracted to that. And it turned from that to where I started racing. Started racing when I was 6 years old.
You had that competitive nature in you?
And no matter what we did, our whole family was competitive. No matter what we do, we could be shooting basketball, playing horse, or playing out, or we could have foot races out in the front of the yard. We could be playing horseshoes. You know what I mean? It didn't make a difference what we did. We were always pushing each other, and I was the youngest. So I was the youngest amongst all my siblings, my older brother and my older cousins, and I had to compete with them. And that's what kept me just like tuned in. And I was like, man, I got to compete. And I had to always compete at a higher level. So when I competed against kids my own age, it was no competition because my brother was 6 years older than me. Wow. So that's what really set the bar. And my brother literally looked at me. When I turned 16 years old, my brother used to beat me up and beat me in everything we did. And when I turned 16, the muscle mass and the size came. And he never won anything ever since then. And he goes, and I never forget, he goes, Aunt, I'm sorry. I am so sorry. I said, what you sorry for? He goes, I just put all this rage and fuel in you that you can't stand losing. And I will break my leg before my brother beat me in something still to this day.
It paid off, I'd say.
Oh, yeah, it has. I'm sorry for all the competition. That's what they get from me every time.
That's awesome. So how did you make the transition from 2 wheels to 4?
You know, it literally took me 7 years of my 10-year career in pro stock motorcycle. Just putting it out there, letting people know what I wanted to do, that I wanted to drive a fuel car one day, whether it's a funny car or a Top Fuel car. And Daryl Gwynn, he's the one that put it in my ear, because a lot of people don't realize I raced my pro stock motorcycle career out of his race shop. My first 2 years out of Dade, Florida, near Fort Lauderdale, in Miami. He's between both of them. And I raced my motorcycle, and he used to tell me when Mike Dunn drove for him, he goes, you're going to be Mike Dunn's replacement. He goes, Mike Dunn, this is your replacement. He goes, and I was like, my first year racing bikes, I said, Daryl, I ain't driving that stuff. That stuff is crazy. He goes, you'll be great at it. And it took me literally 10 years after that to make that happen. And I started falling in love with that category because I never thought I could do it. You know what I mean? I never thought I could do it because I thought those things were crazy and you had to be crazy good. You got to do this stuff, and you do. But the thing about it was, I just thought it was out of my wheelhouse. Like, how do you get a chance to do it? And then I remember Lee Beard and David Power. He was a GM and he was a crew chief on the car. And he told David, he goes, this kid will be great in it. Because he saw me work day in and day out the shop, dynoing engines, building pro stock motorcycles and doing all that stuff. I was there before they showed up, and I was there after they left every day, all the fuel teams. And he saw the work that I put in, and he was like, I want to give you a shot. And I'm like, I told numerous people, the Schumachers, the Forces, the Perdomes, all of them that this is what I wanted to do. And they're like, oh, that's great, kid. Oh, yeah, like, they give you a pat on the back. One day you'll get there, you know what I mean? But nobody wants to take a chance on you. And David Powers, Lee Beard, and Tim Buckley at the time did. And then once they gave me that shot, I got in that car the first time. And I never forget, Lee looked at me, he goes, you've been driving this car for 10 years. I said, I have, from behind the line. I've been sitting in it with my mind and going through mental reps, watching all the people like the Kenny Bernsteins, the Mark Oswalds, the Joe Amatos, and the Brandon Bernsteins, and all the Morgan Lucases, and all the other people that were out there making it happen, and watching how they made it happen, the Eric Medlins, and watching what they do and how they do their craft. And I was just like, this is what I want to do. And when I got that shot, Lee goes, you've been driving for 10 years? I said, I have. I just wasn't sitting in the seat and had my hand on the steering wheel.
That's amazing.
And that's the passion that drove me, Jamie.
So you were ready. So you drove for different teams throughout most of your career, and then you decided to create your own team, AB Motorsports. So tell me about that journey and what made you decide to do that, because suddenly your world becomes a lot busier.
Yes, it does. And I knew what I was getting myself into. I knew the hours it was going to take. But the thing about it is that I wanted to make something a little bit more special. I've been on numerous race teams where you have team owners that are there and you have some that are present. And most of all the team owners I ever raced for, they were absent. And like they were there at the racetrack, but they weren't there the day-to-day to see what's going on or really understand what the crew chiefs and the teams really go through. They always are very thankful, but they never lived the day in and day out of what they go through. And I have. I've been a part of it my whole life. And I thought that I could just do something a little different. I understand what that life's about. And then also with our partners and sponsors, where I raced for some mega race teams where they had numerous partners and numerous sponsors. And I found out really quick that they limit me as an athlete and as a person, because I have a lot of partnerships with other partners that conflicts with their partners, and I can never cater to all the ones that I always felt family with. And when I got to go out on my own, I got to lean and actually become back part of the families that I was been with my whole life. And it was just like, it was like a breath of fresh air, because now I control my own destiny. I didn't have somebody steering a ship, this is what you have to do, this is how you have to do it. A lot more responsibility, oh yeah. A lot more weight on your shoulders, yes. Not sleepless nights, a lot of them. But the coolest part that I can tell you is that I've learned how to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And once you understand how to deal with that, there's no boundaries. There's no boundaries for AB Motorsports. There's none at all. And we're moving forward, and we're growing each and every step of the way.
I love that. That is probably the best advice you could give people coming up. Be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Get out of your comfort zone. Try something that you thought, you know, I can never do that. Those guys are crazy, or that job is crazy and out of my league. But it's so important to get out of your comfort zone. So you did. You create your team. You guys make your debut. What was that first win like?
Oh, the first win last year at Topeka, Kansas. We should have won a couple races before that, but we just wasn't ready. And our team was still young, and we were still making mistakes here and there. And I knew it was coming. And when we won Topeka and we broke through that ice, we're like, we're here. And everybody's felt what that win felt like and what it tastes like. And then we left Topeka, and then we went to Brainerd, and we almost won Brainerd. And then we came here, and we lit it up. And we won Indy last year. I saw the look on my guys' face. They were jumping, screaming up and down, tears in their eyes, because we just did the impossible. We did the impossible. And it was so funny because people knew that we were a team to be reckoned with, but we were off the radar. And they didn't realize we were coming. We went from 12th place in the points and got to Indy, and we moved all the way up to 4th place in the points within a 3-race spread.
Underdog, not long, were you?
And then we came in, and then we won Charlotte, one of the first races in the countdown, and we took out the points leader, who was a favorite to win, which was my teammate at the time, Justin Ashley. We outran them and I mean, they were like, and it was so funny. I remember like yesterday, Tony Pedregon and Brian Looms talking on the TV announcements, and Tony was going, well, Antron Brown and that Macro Tools Lucas Oil team is like, they're a fighter now. They're going to be a favorite now going in. They're going to be one of the horses that everybody's going to pick. I'm like, really? You weren't saying that 4 races ago, and now here we are, and we shined, and we did that for the whole countdown, competing at a high level, and that's all I ever asked of my team, for us to compete at a high level and give ourselves a chance to win. And if we do that, we got as good a chance as any team out there to win. And not just win, but win the championship. And when we fell by less than 30 points and win the championship, and we had Brittany, and we just pushed a little too hard, way out front in Vegas, and that was the deciding factor. And that's what put her ahead to win the championship. And she ended up almost winning that race or running up that race, but if we would have beat her that round, it might be a different story last year. So we're trying to not make that mistake this year.
So you mentioned family, you know, in your partnerships, whether it's Toyota, Lucas Oil. Talk about how important a company like Lucas Oil is in what you do on the track, off the track, and just creating your own company.
The hardest part that people never realize, they're like sponsors, they just write checks. They do this, they do that, you know. The difference of it is I don't have a sponsor on my team. I only have partners on my team. And Lucas has been a big partner of mine for years. And it goes way back when I raced bikes, and people don't realize I own my own pro stock motorcycle team with no sponsor. And Forrest, Charlotte, and Morgan, even though their main sponsor, and he said it right up front, was Hector Arana and Pro Stock Bike. They gave me enough money to make the last 3 races of the season so I didn't have to sit out, because that's how much they care. And then besides that, anytime we ever needed anything, help. I raced for Schumacher Racing at a time, and we had another oil as a sponsor, and we had problems with our car blowing up. And people couldn't figure out what it was, but we found out it was the oil in our race car. That sent me upside down in 2013. I was upside down, looking at blue sky, skinning the sand trap on fire. And it wasn't because of the way we tuned the car up. It's because we had an oil problem. I still ran the competitor sticker on our car because I was with Don Schumacher Racing. And we were getting free drums of oil from Lucas Oil to put in our car to make us compete, that we were in it. Because it's not just about performance, it's about safety. And we ran it in our car. I remember Blue Thunder, remember like yesterday. I can say it now because I'm not on that race team no more. So I own my own stuff. Who's going to find me? Who's going to get me, right? So I'm just telling you the truth of the matter. And from that, and they didn't even charge me a dime. And that oil was probably worth over $3,000 a drum at the time. So with that being said, that's what you call family. That's what you call partnerships. And now, as soon as I went out on my own, they were the first ones I ran to. And they were like, they welcomed me with open arms. And we've been working on stuff together from day one. And it's an open book. And it's about relationships, growing and pushing. And now we're trying to push Lucas products through our Macro distributorships on their mobile tool franchises. And it's about bringing everybody together and bringing our partners together where they work together. And when you could do that and become the face of a brand, and you could bring them revenue back in return, and you take care of one another, that's what partnerships are about. That's why our partnerships go on, not for a year, not for 2 years, but it goes on for years.
Not just a talking head. There's so much behind the scenes. Yes. And when you own your own team, that's you. You're a representative of them, but you have to take care of them behind the scenes. But that's really neat, just the story behind it and how they helped you. And when you finally went out on your own, you could bring in who you want to have on your team, who you want as a partner.
Oh, for sure, and how they all collaborate with one another. You go to Lucas Oil Stadium, you see our Toyota Tundra sitting right there in the Lucas side. Then when I go over to Toyota, we're doing this stuff, and even though they might have other partners, they're like, oh, you're with Lucas? That's awesome. That's great, because the collaboration effort that they do all with one another is how you branch out how you work together. And it feels so refreshing when you go in there, you go, hey, yeah, like, you know, I go in there, I could talk to Morgan, I say, Morgan, hey, I need this. Or I could call up Brandon, who runs the whole marketing side of it, that does our motorsports side and stuff. Hey, I said, Brandon, I go, hey man, what about this? I need this. Oh, no problem, AB. And then they can call me up, AB, man, we got this deal going over here at this school that we're benefiting and we're doing a fundraiser for. You got time to run over? Oh, absolutely. Oh, I said, ain't a bother, this is what we do. And we look at each other and say, that's what family does. Like whenever you need something, you can call. It's not even a question. It's done. And that's why I think it's so special about the relationships that we have.
You're so outspoken. You're a voice of the series, but you do so much away from driving as well. Tell me about last year, a year ago, when you went to Washington, D.C. to speak for RPM.
That's one of the things that I was honored that they even called me. RPM Act in a nutshell is protecting our environment of racing, period. And what people don't understand is that you have the EPA coming down where they say that they weren't doing it, but they were trying to take people like ourselves at our grassroots of taking where you can't modify street vehicles that you buy. And the thing about it is you're not modifying them to take them on the street. We were just trying to protect them that we can modify them and we could take them on closed course or closed circuit or drag strips and race. Because at the end of the day, when I was coming up in drag racing, I couldn't afford a $200,000 pro stock motorcycle to go pro stock bike racing, but I could take my street bike and dump a couple grand in it and take it to the street and have it lowered and stretched out and have it go eight seconds at 170 miles an hour and dump less than $4 grand into it. You know what I mean?
So it's trying to kill basically the grassroots,
Absolutely.
Kids that want to get involved and start at the bottom level.
And the craziest part of it is they're saying that they weren't trying to do it, but then when you look at what they were doing and closing things down and not understanding what they were closing down, they were closing down the people that were making the high performance parts and pieces and penalizing them the way that the end user was using it. You know what I mean? There's no different than you could use all different types of scenarios. You know what I mean? Like somebody went out and they bought this product and they took it and used it the wrong way. You know what I mean? Well, you don't penalize the manufacturer for making it if somebody uses it the wrong way. You got to penalize the person. It's like a criminal. You know what I mean? A criminal takes a gun and go robs a bank. You don't shut down Smith & Wesson.
Right.
You get what I mean? So, and that's what it was kind of, that was the harsh reality of it. And for me, when you're going up there on Capitol Hill, is not going up there, is just educating them what we do, how we do, and how many dreams that you can stop right now by passing things that you don't really understand. But the breath of fresh air that was relaxing and refreshing for me is when you get up on Capitol Hill and you see some of these senators that they're telling their stories when they ran at the county fair and they raced lawnmowers in a circle, or one of them used to road race motorcycles. Another one used to take their mom's station wagon and drag race it down a drag strip and had fun. Or another one that has an old Road Runner with a big block Hemi in it, and he still has it to this day because that was his high school car. And when you start hearing stuff like that, you're like, they're normal people, they get it, but they just need to hear the story behind it, and they need to hear what it can kill. It's like saying, okay, well, we want professional football, but we're going to take away Pee Wee football. How do you get there?
Right.
We're going to take away the flag football, Pee Wee football. We're going to take away the soccer, the recreational soccer leagues. Well, that's what they were doing to us, and to go and speak on that behalf, it was yet humbling, and it was an honor. It was a true honor to represent our realm of motorsports, especially for the grassroots level. Because I've made it to where I'm at. It's not got nothing to do with me where I'm at, but it's going to take away the bridge to get you to where I'm at.
Absolutely. So your family was there with you. Talk about your family a little bit. 3 kids, but to my knowledge, none of them are racers, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They are?
All of them are racing. No, my daughter, she wants to race, but my son, Anson, our middle child, he's 19, going to IU now, Indiana University. He's quite the racer. Came straight from junior dragsters, and we actually started racing big cars this year at the Lucas Oil Bracket Racing Series. So he came out here, did well in Super Comp. He went out his first bracket race in Ohio, and he won that. Then he went out to his first big money race that we've never been to, and the kid won 75 grand.
Dang.
He went 10 rounds and won 75 grand. He beat Sean Langdon in the final. He beat Dave Connolly that weekend. He beat a slew of professional bracket racers that win over $500 to $1 million a year racing professionally. He took them all out, his second race out.
Dang, but you're making them get their education before they proceed into the racing world?
Absolutely. The moral to my story is the best thing is he paid for college his second race out. So we took all that money and put it away in the bank account. And he goes, Dad, I need $6 grand, I got to pay tuition. I said, no problem, so let me just transfer that over. And I said, you got more left. So guy's own apartment, doing his own thing, and I couldn't be prouder of him. And then my younger son, Atler, he's my part-time racer, but my daughter, Ariana, she sings and dances for a living, and she went to a professional dance preparatory school out in Vegas for that, TAPS. And now she goes, Dad, I want to race like Anson. Because she junior raced her whole upcoming since she was a little girl also too. And now she just wants to take it to another level like Anson because she don't want him to have all the fun. So we're building a second car for her right now as we speak.
So she sings and dances and races. She's
Yes.
like total package.
I told her do it all. Do it all because she's definitely an entertainer. So if she ever gets to the realm to where I'm at, I'm in trouble.
Does she have your personality?
She's got more than my personality. She wears it everywhere she goes. Anson's the true professional. Ariana is definitely the outgoing, bubbly, personal one, and she got pizzazz to go with it, trust me.
Awesome. Awesome kids. And you have a couple dogs?
Yeah, I got Levi, Lil at home, and they keep it going. And I feel sorry for my poor wife, Billy Joe, who she's got to be the one to try to keep it all together. and she does it with all the kids because she's done it for years. So I've been blessed in that nature with what she does. And it keeps our family together and keeps us as a family going together. So
A lot of personalities under one roof.
oh, yes, it is. And trust me, she's got quite the personality, too. Yes. Oh, yes, she does, too, Billy Joe. So with that being said, you know, all in all, I've been truly blessed from the family standpoint. And I love them all to death. And my kids, they definitely keep me grounded all the time. When I come home from a race and I have a bad race, they're not shy to tell me how I stunk it up. And that's not very often, but they do. Dad, what's up with that light? What's up with that light? You cut that 65 first round. You may have won the race, but you got lucky first round. Langdon cut a 23 on you. I said, baby, he just took off a little early. And he said, don't make a difference, Dad. 65 is not acceptable for you. You should be 50s and 40s every day, blinking above. I said, I got it. I will be better.
A little humble pie from the kids.
Oh, they'll tell you how it is. They're real. They keep it real, as I say.
You keep it real. Antron Brown, always good to see
Amy,
you.
always,
Good luck
thank
this
you.
weekend. U.S. Nationals. Be sure to check it out on Fox.
Yeah, absolutely.
See this man any given weekend, NHRA races. Always exciting to watch you and talk to you. Good luck.
Thank you so much.